is it fine to just watch and see what's going on, or like, is there things that you kind of have to pay attention to? Because when I ask myself that, then boom, like I'm back in uncertainty. Like, so then I know, like, I'm like, oh, wait, hold up. Like, is there something to do here, or just vibe and chill, I guess?
Okay, so you're saying the practice is going good, and you got yourself feeling good, right? And then you ask yourself, is there something else I should be doing, right? Okay, then that would be the first unwholesome thought, right? All right. So, like, just correct me if I'm wrong if I didn't understand this situation correctly. But so
Yeah.
essentially, the practice that you were doing was the wholesome thoughts, right? Thinking yourself into a state of feeling good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you were doing it successfully up until that point where you had a thought, is there something else that I should be doing, right?
Yeah. No,
So,
that's on the nose.
so then that would just be uh, so the thing to do there is just wake up to that thought, um, pooping the party, right? So like that's what I call the first unwholesome thought is the party pooper, right? So I mean, just keep doing getting your first jhana completely strong, like you're like literally in first jhana all the time. And then like you can do other stuff, right? You can
Yeah.
start to put some gaps in between those thoughts. So
Hmm.
if you thought yourself into feeling so good, then uh, it's kind of redundant to just keep thinking those thoughts that you're already feeling good about, right?
Yeah.
So you can just start to appreciate how good you're feeling without thinking about it. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, and that would be the second jhana. But the problem is, if you do that and your first jhana isn't strong enough, then you'll just go right back out of second jhana back into the hindrances, right?
Yeah.
So you have to train the mind's first jhana to be such a habit, like such a force of nature that when you go into second jhana, where you go back into is right back into first jhana, right?
Hmm.
So you get
Yeah.
like a little taste of a little taste of just feeling really good, and then when the thoughts come back up, the first thought that comes back up is wholesome, right?
Yeah.
So that's a practice. So
Okay.
so so it's not that there's not other things uh that to do or that will happen in the development of your practice, is that the thinking, oh, there's something else that I should be doing, is it's an unwholesome thought,
Hmm.
because there's really nothing else that you should be doing.
Yeah. Just chilling.
Yeah. I mean,
No.
ultimately that's what you're doing, is just chilling out. Like it's the same thing in the beginning that it is in the end. Like
Yeah.
you like it's just different progressions of nibbana. So uh to get from hindrances into first jhana, the the hindrances have to have a cessation, right?
Hmm.
So in that sense, that's a sort of nibbana to attain first jhana, and um, there's all kinds of energy, wholesome thoughts that come along with that, just because all the tension and all the mental bandwidth that you are dedicating to sorrow, lamentation, and despair, and thinking about the past and the future, that tension has been released. So there's a real kind of outburst of PT and Sukha that comes along with that, and mindfulness, right? So have you guys taken chemistry?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like when a chemical bond is broken, it actually releases energy, right?
Yeah.
It does. So like a lot of people think it's the opposite, like it takes energy to break the bond, right? But when the bond is broken, energy is released.
Mhm.
So that tension um being broken, the tension of any of the hindrances being broken actually releases energy, and that energy comes in the form of joy, enthusiasm, and then relaxation following that, right?
Okay.
So
And you get the feeling that you can do that, which is kind of, or I can do this. Of
yeah,
course, you'd feel that way because you have more energy now.
yeah. So like the PT hit is like kind of like a I can do it type of energy. It's like a motivating type of energy of like, yeah, I'm on the right track essentially. Like this stuff works. The
Mhm.
meditation is working. Wow, I'm actually gladdening my mind. That's kind of the PT. And then the Sukha is like, um, okay, now that I'm on the right track and I feel really uplifted, I can kind of let go of some of those worries and tensions that are stored in my body, right? In the form of some kind of tension in my chest or tension in my shoulders, and now I can like relax and experience like a pleasant abiding. So in the suttas it says, uh, he experiences a pleasant abiding, and that's so it just means like your body's relaxed, right? Your body's feeling good. So we want to work on both of those with the wholesome thoughts. All right.
Yeah.
Um,
Thanks for that clarification. Cause yeah, like I'll notice that's the party pooper, and then I'll be like, I see you too, and then it's just like just rinse and repeat,
yeah.
and
Well, the
just build
trick
that.
is, yeah, the trick is there's a lot of party pooper thoughts that are kind of disguise themselves, right? Disguise themselves as um, thinking that you're practicing thoughts, right? Because like
Mhm.
the party pooper thought in this case was like, is there anything else I should be doing with the practice? So you might not immediately notice it as a party pooper thought, but like immediately following that thought, yeah, Puyan, you have something?
Yeah, I was wondering if there's any way that you can like incorporate that party pooper thought into it, like kind of get that guy to join the party in a way instead of like kicking him out. You know what I mean? I don't know if you should kick him
Yeah,
out or join.
yeah. So like, there's different ways we can skillfully navigate an unwholesome thought, but first we have to catch it. So it's not necessarily like you're like trying super hard to kick out of it or get rid of it. You can just reframe it, right? Like take that thought and be, oh, is there anything else I should be doing right now? Yeah, I should be thinking an even more wholesome thought. And then wow, it back to feeling good. Yeah, I should be thinking how great, um congratulations of how good my practice is going, and look at this fruit. So like you can answer the question of, is there something else I should be doing, with another wholesome thought. You know what I'm saying? Instead of compiling it with another unwholesome thought after that of, oh, is there something else I should be doing? Oh, maybe I'm not doing the right thing, and then all that doubt that you're practicing right starts to come in, because it's really not the first unwholesome thought. It's one unwholesome thought doesn't take you out of it. One unwholesome thought doesn't take you out of jhana. It's when it spirals, right? It's when it's one unwholesome thought creates another one, and then before you know it, there's all these unwholesome thoughts that you can't really pick out the unwholesome from the wholesome, because all these unwholesome thoughts took you out of jhana completely, and then now pretty much you're starting from out of jhana, trying to get back into jhana, right? It's like the analogy of the swing. So it takes more effort to push the kid on the swing when it's going from a standstill, but once the swing is going back and forth, it just takes a little tap. So once you're already into a wholesome state of mind, once you're already in that good mood, that uplifted mood, all it takes is a little tap to keep it going. Like, you don't really have to put much effort to like keep the swing going back and forth, right? So, but then let's say we do get out of jhana, we go back into the hindrances. So the thoughts to think then is not, oh fuck, I had it, now I lost it, and now I'm back out of it, now I'm gonna have to do all this work. We go, oh yippee, we get to learn how to get back into first jhana again. So it's another opportunity for skill development. So getting from out of jhana back into first jhana is probably the best skill that needs developing. Staying in first jhana isn't as hard, but getting back into it is like the main thing of the practice. Like, that's probably like the going from first jhana to nibbana really isn't that hard. It's just, how good is your first jhana? So it's just that not that you've been in first jhana, how often can you be in first jhana? And how, like literally, how often can you be in first jhana? And how quickly can you get back into first jhana? Because then first jhana going to fruition kind of just happens on its own, right? It's the same way you're gardening a plant. You can set the right causes and conditions. You can set the fertilizer, you can plant the seed, you can water the plant, you can make sure it's in a sunny spot, but there's nothing you can actually do to force that plant to sprout, flower, become pollinated, bear fruit, right? You kind of just create the causes and conditions. So the causes and conditions for nibbana to happen, or fruition of the Dhamma to happen, is by development of first jhana. So that's what you should be doing to answer your question.
Okay.
Yeah, but then is there any other questions?
I have a question. Or you can keep going. Me? All right.
Go ahead, Nick.
I heard Dhammarato say this before, and I feel like I kind of get it, but it doesn't really click like the rest of the things he says. But I heard that you were like talking with him, Scott, about the whole light bulb having its own consciousness, or the light switch. That little discussion, like, seemed kind of like to go over my head. I didn't really quite understand.
To be honest, I didn't know what Dhammarato was talking about either. Sometimes Dhammarato will type stuff in the chat that, like, it doesn't really make sense. But like I that's just like him. Are you talking about one of the messages he typed in Skype? Yeah,
earlier today.
I didn't get the light bulb analogy. I wouldn't think about it too hard. Just like take the like sentiment behind it. The thing he wrote about, let me check. The thing he wrote about something else was pretty important.
Existence is real or something? That part?
Yeah. Existence is real, just real, but inherent existence is not real. Inherent existence implies permanent, independent. Yet all things are interdependent and not permanent. Existence does not exist as a moving target. Nothing permanent, nothing independent. Yeah, so that's pretty important. So like most people think that existence itself, even through the, hold on, I'm trying to figure out how to get the screen back. Okay, existence itself, like there is something inherently existing. It's just moving. It like the now, right? People think that the now exists. It has inherent existence, like the present moment, and is inherently existing, and that's the only thing that inherently exists, and it's inherently existing from one moment to the next. When really the now is has no inherent existence apart from its relationship to the past and the future. So it's not that anything inherently exists. It's just everything, everything that exists, but it exists by causes and conditions. So it does not exist without a causes and conditions. It does not exist without its relationships and dependency upon the proximate cause for its existence. And if you take away the proximate cause for its existence, it no longer exists. And that's the whole idea behind the Dhamma. So if you take away the causes, if you take away the causes for suffering, suffering no longer arises. And if you put the causes for the end of suffering, the Eightfold Noble Path, then happiness arises, deliverance arises. So it's like, it's really simple teaching. It's really not like, it doesn't make any claims that are unfounded. So it's not saying like, it's not an absolute ontological existential viewpoint. The whole idea is to get rid of views and just look at reality unfolding clearly how it is. So you can see things without, beyond a shadow of a doubt, the way that they are. And that's why attachment to views is actually one of the things that are gotten rid of. So your attachment to viewpoints, right? All of that is replaced with right view. And right view isn't a noun, it's a verb. So it's actually a process of just looking, viewing reality as it happens. And then we could develop insight in that way.
Yeah, that cleared it up a lot. Thanks.
Does
Well said.
anyone have any questions about that or anything to say? Okay. Yeah, but I picked a sutta that's a pretty popular sutta for today. You guys might have heard of it, the Satipatthana Sutta. And in a way, this will answer Isaiah's question in the beginning of, is there anything else I can do? But then this is kind of like, this comes into handy once that first jhana is really developed. Okay, because then once you are in first jhana, there's different ways you can practice the Dhamma besides thinking a wholesome thought, right? You can direct your mindfulness or direct your attention towards certain aspects of your experience. So the actual the actual three components of first jhana is sometimes translated to the thinking and examining thought rather than the applied and sustained thought. Dhammarato says one wholesome thought after another, but another translation of the Pali, along with the Piti and Sukha of first jhana, is the thinking and examining thought. So you can be thinking and examining our experience, but instead of doing it as a kind of artificial kind of try hard practice, we're thinking and examining our experience because of the clarity of our interest for it. So we've already gotten out of the hindrances. We've already gotten out of the conceptual mind about the past and the future. So now we can take a look around at this interesting phenomena of human experience that's unfolding moment to moment. So with that, I'm just going to start the sutta here. All right, so this is MN 10, the Satipatthana Sutta, the foundations of mindfulness, and this is the sutta that a lot of the Vipassana people use, a lot of the mindfulness, a lot of the Western mindfulness people use. So a lot here is misunderstood by Dharma practitioners, and they're not really doing it right, and they're going nowhere fast. But I'm gonna read it, so I'll kind of explain it for the world and YouTube, so that they can actually practice it correctly. And another thing is in the sutta, like towards the end, it says if you actually do this right, like you will become an arhat within a week or something. It might be a week or like 2 weeks. So it's a really powerful practice if you do it correctly. Thus have I heard, on one occasion the Blessed One was living in the Kuru country at a town of the Kurus named Kama Sadama. There he addressed the bhikkhus thus, "Bhikkhus, venerable sir," they replied. The Blessed One said this, "Bhikkhus, this is the direct path for the purification of beings, for the surmounting of sorrow and lamentation, for the disappearance of pain and grief, for the attainment of the true way, for the realization of nibbana, namely the four foundations of mindfulness." All right, so mindfulness is a really popular word. I want to ask you guys, like, what does mindfulness mean to you? Like, what does that mean?
I'd say waking up, taking a look.
That's okay. That's a good understanding. Anyone else?
Say for me, mindfulness is seeing things clearly
Seeing things clearly.
as they are. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'd say-
mindfulness. Oh, go ahead, Nick.
I was gonna say seeing the mind. Seeing the mind.
Yeah. So seeing the mind. Another good one. Mindfulness. Yeah, mindfulness. The word itself isn't exactly like. I don't think it really makes that much sense. Mindfulness. But it's a translation of sati, right? So sati is essentially that kind of that it's like that hit of remembrance. So if you when I woke up this morning, 20 minutes before the Sangha call, and then I check my phone and I go, oh crap, I have a Sangha call I have to do. So that was like a sati. So sati is like remembering to look. So remembering to look, remembering to practice. So you may be breathing and not aware that you're breathing. Sati would be the recognition that you are breathing. So it's not that you weren't breathing, but your mind didn't recognize it, didn't notice it, wasn't mindful. So that's what mindfulness means. Okay, so namely the four foundations of mindfulness. What are the four? Here, bhikkhus, a bhikkhu who abides contemplating the body as a body, ardent, fully aware, and mindful, having put away covetousness and grief for the world. He abides contemplate. All right, so that's important. What are the four here, bhikkhus? A bhikkhu abides contemplating the body as a body, ardent, fully aware, and mindful, having put away covetousness and grief for the world. So what that tells me is that this guy who's practicing mindfulness is already in jhana, right? Having put away grief and covetousness for the world. So people miss that part. So they practice mindfulness without putting away grief and covetousness for the world. So then the mindfulness will be obscured. So the mind will be distracted. The meditation will be done on behalf of a person who is grieving and suffering and a victim and trying to get rid of their suffering by practicing some kind of practice or mindfulness. So that would be grief. And so you have to get rid of grief and lamentation first. And then it's actually describing jhana, ardent, fully aware, and mindful. So that's a quality of jhana. So first jhana is actually comes with a quality of being fully aware, right? Wide awake. You're totally crystal clear awake to the moment. It's like someone throws a bucket of cold water in your face. Okay. You're gonna wake up, right? You're gonna be out of like the fog, the dullness, right? So this is why we emphasize first jhana so much, so that we can do the practice of the Dhamma more effectively. All right, so abides contemplating the body as a body, and the wording is very important too. That's not really that complicated, right? Contemplating a body as a body. It's pretty simple, right? But it's a really powerful practice. So a lot of times, instead of contemplating our body as a body, either overtly or subconsciously, we think this is me, right? We there's no distinction between our body and what we consider me or mine. We could think this is me, or we could either think this is my body, right? Either one is ignorant. So really, it's just a body. So contemplating a body as a body. This is a body. He abides contemplating feelings as feelings, ardent, fully aware, and mindful, having put away grief and covetousness for the world. He abides contemplating mind as mind, ardent, fully aware, and mindful, having put away covetousness and grief for the world. He abides contemplating mind objects as mind objects, ardent, fully aware, and mindful, having put away covetousness and grief for the world. All right, so feelings as feelings, right? That's really important. So the feelings that we experience are just impersonal events, okay? Normally there are feelings, right? So grief, lamentation, sorrow, and despair usually comes with a strong sense of self behind it. Oh, how could this person have wronged me? Oh, how bad this thing that happened to me. And why does this always happen to me? And oh, I'm always doing this. I always fuck it up, or something to that extent. When you're grieving and you're lamenting, it's always your grief and lamentation, right? Instead of just looking at feelings as feelings, right? Just the same way our body is a body. It is what it is. A feeling is just a feeling. It's arising impersonally, just like the weather. Okay. And that's important for when we're actually in jhana too. So when we are experiencing good feelings, we're just observing the feelings without a personal attachment to them. So even when you're experiencing really good feelings, there's feelings are just feelings, right? Normally we go, oh, yippee, these are my feelings, my jhana. And that's usually a quick way to get out of it. Yeah, so it's better just to sit back and let it unfold and just observe it mindfully for what it is. And then mind is mind. So mind is essentially seeing a thought as a thought. So even more tricky than probably body is body is seeing thoughts as thoughts without thinking that our thoughts are me. So it's probably it's easier to recognize this body is just a body, right? If someone chops off your hand, is that hand still yours? Like you'd still be here, but your hand would be gone, right? It wouldn't really be your hand anymore, right? And the same for the rest of the body. But a thought is a little more tricky. Like most people walking around in the world are fully convinced that they are their thoughts, right? The discursive thought going on, thinking about things through the English language or whatever language that you speak, we're convinced that that's me, instead of seeing that it's just a phenomenal and dependently originated event that's happening, that we aren't really in as much control of as we think we are, right? Thoughts are just happening.
Hey, Scott,
Yeah.
what's the name of the sutta called again?
Satipatthana Sutta. It's just MN10.
Okay. What website was it? I just want to follow along as you're reading it.
Oh, I just go on the Bhikkhu Bodhi MN PDF.
Okay.
And it's just the middle length discourses, and you're just gonna have to scroll down. But yeah, I'll continue. I'm taking a long time with the beginning of it here. I don't think we're gonna get through the whole thing today. It's kind of a long sutta, but we can take our time. Okay. So contemplating mind as mind, and then mind objects as mind objects. So mind objects would be the things that you're thinking about, right? So mind would be the process of thinking itself. A mind objects would be what are you thinking about? And really, without mind objects, there is no mind. And without mind, there is no mind objects. So thoughts don't arise unless you're thinking about something in particular. So a thought has to have those two components. So let's say I'm thinking about my ex-girlfriend, right? The mind would be the process of thinking And the mind object would be the imaginary ex-girlfriend that I construct in my mind that I'm thinking about, right? It's a mind object. But normally we would think, that's my ex-girlfriend. That's who she really is that I'm thinking about. But that's not her. That's just something that I'm constructing, right? It's a mind object. So pretty much anything that you think about the past, instead of actually being the real thing that happened in the past, it's really just a mental construction. It's a mind object that you're thinking about. Yeah, if I'm thinking about a table, right? I can imagine a table. That's a mind object. So a mind object could be in the form of a thought. It could also be mental imagery, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be like in the form of language. Thoughts also take the form of images. And depending on the type of person you are, you may have more of a image. Like if you're an artist or something, you may think more in images than you do in discursive language and logic. But both of these are mind, right? They're not based on any of the senses, right? So the mind and the mind objects is one of the 6 sense bases. So for the Buddha, it's categorized the same as seeing something literally. So the eye comes into contact with the forms that it sees in the same way that the mind comes into contact with the mind objects that it thinks about. So in the same way, it's a sense faculty. Our mind, our sight, our touch, our taste, our hearing. It's all part of the 6 sense bases. Okay, so those are the 4 foundations of mindfulness. And then the next heading, it gets on to contemplation of the body. And it starts with mindfulness of breathing. And how, bhikkhus, does a bhikkhu abide contemplating the body as a body? Here a bhikkhu, gone to the forest or to a root of a tree or to an empty hut, sits down. It says having folded his legs and blah, blah, blah. But I think Dhammarato talked about this. It's not like the right translation. You could just be sitting down. You don't have to be in a full lotus or whatever. And established mindfulness in front of him. Ever mindful he breathes in. Mindful he breathes out. Breathing in long, he understands, I breathe in long. Or breathing out long, he understands, I breathe out long. Breathing in short, he understands, I breathe in short. Or breathing out short, he understands, I breathe out short. He trains thus. I shall breathe in experiencing the whole body. So I shall breathe in, experiencing the whole body. He trains thus. I shall breathe out, experiencing the whole body. He trains thus. I shall breathe in, tranquilizing the bodily formation. He trains thus. I shall breathe out, tranquilizing the bodily formation. Just as a skilled turner or his apprentice, when making a long turn, understands, I make a long turn, or when making a short turn, understands, I make a short turn. So too, breathing in long, a bhikkhu understands, I breathe in long. He trains thus, I shall breathe out, tranquilizing the bodily formation. All right.
Is the bodily formation just the body? Another word for the body?
Yeah, it's sensations of the body. So tranquilizing the bodily formation just means relaxing the body. That's all it means. I don't know why they translate it like that, but that's literally what it means. So yeah, you first recognize, how are we breathing, right? Am I breathing in short or breathing in long? And then so you'll either understand that you're breathing in short or understand that you're breathing in long. All right, that's pretty straightforward. It doesn't say anything about the tip of the nostril. It doesn't say anything about all kinds of breathing meditations that are taught in Western Dharma. It just says breathing in long. I understand I breathe in long. So just the sati, the mindfulness of our breathing itself, how are we breathing, is the practice. And then you breathe in. The next step is breathing in, experiencing the whole body. So now that we brought the mind's attention to the breath, we've collected the mind to the breath is kind of sensation happening in the body. So now we can bring the mind to the experience of our whole body simultaneously. So what is the posture of our body? What does our body feel like? How does it feel like for the shirt to be touching your skin right now? And as you breathe, what does those little sensations feel like changing? All around your body, all on your skin, from your head to your toes, from the sensation of your butt against the seat, the little sensations of the fabric moving against your skin as you breathe. You kind of just breathe and experience the whole body, right? Then what's the next step? If you find any tensions in your body, you can continue with the nice breaths that you're taking and just relax and let go of those tensions. Because a relaxed body is a relaxed mind, right? So having put away grief and covetousness for the world, we stop creating tensions in the body with our mind. And so now the tensions that are still there or already there, we can breathe, become aware of them, and then consciously relax them because we're no longer creating them mentally anymore. And what does relaxing the body do? Well, that just creates more sukha, right? So that's just strengthening the jhana that we're already in, right? So when you are in jhana and you're thinking, what should I do? Well, you can breathe, become aware of your body, relax any tensions that are going on, and then start to enjoy that relief and that pleasantness of your body and how good does it actually feel. Okay, now it goes on to the insight. In this way, he abides contemplating the body as a body internally, or he abides contemplating the body as a body externally, or he abides contemplating the body as a body both internally and externally, or else he abides contemplating in the body its arising factors, or he abides contemplating in the body its vanishing factors, or he abides contemplating in the body both its arising and vanishing factors, or else mindfulness that there is a body is simply established in him to the extent necessary for bare knowledge and mindfulness, and he abides independent, not clinging to anything in the world. That is how a bhikkhu abides contemplating the body as a body. Right, so abides contemplating the body as a body externally. So there's certain parts of our body that are kind of external, right? The external sensations of the body, but there may be more internal sensations of the body, like maybe a feeling in your stomach or something like that. Or a feeling that's in your heart, in your chest, that may not be as external as the feeling of your foot against the ground. The next one, he abides contemplating the body and its arising factors. So you're actually, now that you're in a clear state of mindfulness and you're staying with the sensations of your body, and you're staying with the sensations of your breath, you can actually see that these sensations are arising and vanishing. So the sensation, in other words, the sensations of our body are changing from moment to moment. It's not as if the body is a solid thing that isn't shifting and changing and appearing and disappearing. All the sensations of our body are appearing and disappearing. And then cool thing is, if you can actually appreciate the moments it appears and the moments it disappears in the visceral sensations, you can actually get a taste of that emptiness of, wow, there isn't really a solid thing that's me known as a body, but there's just appearing and disappearing sensations. And you can appreciate some gaps in between those sensations even. So that just adds to the relief, right? That reveals their emptiness, their inherent non-existence, or their inherent dependent existence is another way to put it. And then, or mindfulness that there is a body is simply established in him to the extent necessary for bare knowledge and mindfulness. Right, so that's enough. Just the disciplication from going from this is my body to there is a body. Just for the bare extent of mindfulness, so you don't get caught by identifying with it. That's also enough. So you don't even need to do see it arising and vanishing. You could just be aware that there is a body here, and that would be sufficient. The four postures. Again, bhikkhus, when walking, a bhikkhu understands I am walking. When standing, he understands I am standing. When sitting, he understands I am sitting. When lying down, he understands I am lying down. Or he understands accordingly, however his body is disposed. In this way, he abides contemplating the body as a body internally, externally, and both internally and externally. And he abides independent, not clinging to anything in the world. That too is how a bhikkhu abides contemplating the body as a body. All right. So whatever posture your body is in, that could be used as a tool for sati. So what is my body doing right now? Oh, it's sitting. I'm sitting. Or am I standing? I'm standing. Or am I walking? Okay, I'm walking. Am I lying down? I'm lying down. Right? So throughout the day, whatever our body is doing, we can become aware of what it is doing instead of just having it do that ignorantly. So these are all like sati reminders, right? Full awareness. Again, bhikkhus. A bhikkhu is one who acts in full awareness when going forward and returning, who acts in full awareness when looking ahead and looking away, who acts in full awareness when flexing and extending his limbs, who acts in full awareness when wearing his robes and carrying his outer robe and bowl, who acts in full awareness when eating, drinking, consuming food, and tasting, who acts in full awareness when defecating and urinating, who acts in full awareness when walking, standing, sitting, falling asleep, waking up, talking, and keeping silent. In this way, he abides contemplating the body as a body, etc., etc. Right, so to be fully aware of what our body is doing at any given moment is also another thing that is wholesome. So you can continue with keeping the mind in a wholesome state that way. Right, so if I reach out to grab this cup, just the act of, instead of just like doing it habitually, like I already know how to grab the cup, so I'm just going to grab the cup and drink, right? But what if I mindfully grab the cup and I'm aware of the act of actually going out there and grabbing that cup, right? Or I mindfully get up from my seat. I mindfully drive, right? I'm aware of each little movement that I'm doing, right? So this is what it's talking about. It's a skill of all the things that we do sort of on autopilot. We're going to take the mind out of autopilot mode and then bring it into manually doing things. Because what all of our dukkha is actually created is on autopilot, right? It's the habitual tendencies of our mind that are creating our dukkha for us. So the more we take the mind out of autopilot mode into fully aware mode, fully mindful mode of what is going on here in this moment, right? What is my body doing in this moment? That's all the less bandwidth that your mind can be grieving, lamentating, sorrow, and despairing about the past and imagining things that aren't here right now, right? That make us suffer. Okay, this one. I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna get some more water and I need to blow my nose. But feel free to talk amongst each other while I'm gone.
I was gonna ask Scott, like if someone happens to be addicted to something, and do you think it would help to like do that thing while you're I don't know if anyone's listening, but while you're okay. Yeah, so like do that thing with more awareness, I guess. Like say if you're a smoker and you're trying to quit, like instead of habitually grabbing a cigarette, you can put more awareness behind it, and maybe you can feel the damage that it's doing or something, and somehow that could help you quit that habit. I don't know if that's
probably have the habit of smoking cigarettes not because it's good, for some other reason, like it's a crutch. So once you start seeing that, then you can see it for what it is, like a crutch.
Yeah. That's
Dhammarato has a. I'll go for it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a really good, helpful thing because it can help a lot of people quit stuff that they're addicted to.
Dhammarato has an interesting story about a chocolate bar for addiction. Talks about how at every point you could put the chocolate bar down. When you go to the fridge and you pick the chocolate bar up, you could put it down. When you unwrap it and it's here, you could put it down. When it's in your mouth, you could even spit it out. You could take a few chews, spit it out. So there's all these little moments of sati that you could use to wake up and decide that you're going to not let this addiction take control of your happiness.
Yeah, I noticed that too because I'm trying to quit something myself right now. I smoke weed too much, and I'm trying to quit. And I noticed that when I think about every little thing that I do, like in the routine of smoking weed, I I'm less I don't even want to smoke it. By the end of the thing, I'm more like, okay, I'm just gonna relax. I'm already relaxing right now, and I'm gonna keep relaxing. And yeah, so I noticed that myself too.
Yeah,
Just
so
half a toke.
the the weed addiction is like it's a psychological addiction because like weed itself isn't really like physically addicted. So the reason why you keep smoking weed, not that there's anything wrong with smoking weed, but if you smoke weed too much, it's because there's that psychological um, um, reason why you're trying to solve that unpleasant sensation with the weed, and the thing is, uh, it may work, but smoking so much, eventually it won't work as well. So even let's say you do decide to smoke, and then you do actually smoke, be mindful. Am I actually enjoying this high? Like, what is this high like? Experience the high fully. Like, be mindful of the actual experience instead of just taking it for granted as smoking and then going about doing whatever you're doing like it's a habit. So be
Yeah,
mindful. Oh, and then you might notice something. Oh, actually, this high isn't as enjoyable as it used to be, or how it is when I don't smoke all the time, right? So then that just being aware, it's not that you need to like stop doing it or force yourself to stop doing it, but just be aware of what is it like to do it, right? Because then that will give you experiential insight that you may say, oh, I don't want to do this anymore, right? You might just like realize that. Like,
yeah, you hit the nail on the head. And yeah, the thing that Dhammarato always says is like, stop making so many rules for yourself.
yeah,
Before, when I was trying to quit weed, I would make it like a really strict rule that I can't smoke weed for this amount of time or whatever. And now I'm more just relaxed about it, and I really feel the addiction starting to disintegrate. So it's really
yeah.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, normally the way people overcome addictions is they become disenchanted with the drug, right? They realize, oh, this isn't giving me the happiness that I'm actually using it for, and it's not as enjoyable as it was. So I'm gonna stop doing it, or at least cut back on doing it. So, but that's why mindfulness is so important because we won't actually come to realize the result of our actions unless we're paying attention to what's going on as it goes on, right? We'll just kind of be in a fog of being high, and then we'll continue doing whatever we were doing before without seeing that the weed itself isn't making the situation any better. Um,
Yeah.
um,
I,
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Scott.
No, 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 go ahead.
Okay. Puyan, is that how you say your name, friend?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay, cool. You're just speaking you're just speaking my language over here when you talk about the weed and stuff. I mean, Nick and I have that.
I think literally everyone in this call is a fucking major piehead. I know Nick is. Nick
Hey,
smokes a bunch of weed. So
Yeah,
does Alex.
yeah. So this is very valuable. I was going through this actually a couple months ago where I actually found incredible benefit from using weed with my job. I noticed I'm in sales and I was booking 2 times the amount of meetings that I usually book, being in sales when I took a dab before my cold calls. And what that turned into was taking dabs before going on dates and then taking dabs before I go see my family. And so I was taking 6 to 7 dabs a day. And at some point, I started to realize the heaviness of that. Of like, oh, wow, I have to go back to the dab. I have to clean it. I have to take more. I have to uh, pay more, right? It costs money. But it's kind of like what Scott and Nick said. I feel like if you're just paying attention and it just takes one time of noticing, Okay, I got high, but I don't feel as good as I thought I would. Okay, that's interesting. Okay. And it's kind of like keeping this judgmental-less attitude about it all, right? Like, give yourself free reign. That's what I did. I mean, it might work for some, might not. I don't know. But I decided to go for it and just do 6 to 7 dabs a day. But little by little, I have taken that down. So it went from like the next week, it went to 5 dabs. The next week after that, it went to 4 and then 3 and then 2. And now it's like 0 to 1 dabs a day. And I notice I prefer that more. And it just happened from seeing what I didn't like about the experience while being high, or, the fact that it was heavier, or, even like physical things, right? Like I don't know if you guys feel this, but if I take 6 to 7 dabs, I start feeling it in my head and my body, and I feel stuffy, and it's like,
Yeah.
this is, and I'm like watching a movie. I'm like so excited to watch this movie high, and I'm like not even paying attention to the movie because this congestion in my face is like way too much.
Yeah.
So
So like,
it's just like,
yeah, if you're like mindful of your actual body, you'll see that like smoking way too much it's actually gonna make a lot of dullness.
yeah,
It's gonna bring about a lot of like hindrances, and um, smoking a little weed here and there to just chill out and relax. That's different, because then But if you smoke all the time, it's kind of gonna deplete your energy, and your mind won't be as sharp. Um, right, your mind isn't going to be as clear, right? You're not going to be able to discern things as quickly and see as clearly, which is important for mindfulness.
and I think maybe the advantage that we have as practitioners over someone that might not be familiar with the Dhamma like we are, is because we have this other thing, this wholesome quality, this wholesome practice that has given us evidence that we can feel good without weed. And so the fact that we have even a glimpse of that, we know that there's this other thing. So it's like, okay, it's just a matter of time. We're gradually using other things less and less to be okay. Where
Yeah,
someone that doesn't have access to the Dhamma might be, I don't know, I kind of think back to the time when I used to smoke and I didn't even know anything about the Dhamma. I would just smoke and smoke and smoke and smoke. And we would still see those hindrances and those unwholesome qualities, but we'd be ignorant about it. There's nothing we can do about it because we don't know the Dhamma. So we're just like, oh, well, let's get high again. But like, you just come to realize, okay, it just doesn't feel
yeah,
good.
you can get high. You can, like actually getting into jhana and getting into these states is, it's like getting high, but I would say first jhana is closer to a cocaine high than it is like a weed high. It kind of wakes you right up.
I've done cocaine, so I can't
It
I
gets,
don't know.
so for first jhana, it gets you feeling alive. It gets you feeling good to be alive, right? This is why this is why Charlie Sheen does cocaine, right? So we're doing we're doing the same thing, but we can actually get ourselves into that state, uh, with the power of our own mind, which is fucking amazing. So highly, highly recommend, these types of thoughts of how good does it actually feel to be alive, and like, wow, I'm alive right now. Look at this experience. Isn't this amazing? Right? All of this, I mean, you might feel this if you go to some like national park and like you see some huge like waterfall or some magnificent landscape. You might have that moment of, wow, I'm alive right now. I'm in the thick of nature. I'm an animal, um, just completely in the moment. Um, and this moment is invigorating, right? So these are the kinds of mind states that intentionally we're trying to evoke with
I
the
was gonna
practice.
say, Scott,
Yeah.
do you see a distinction in like telling yourself that and actually feeling that? Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, I might just say right now, oh, it feels so great to feel alive. But there's sometimes where I feel that naturally, it's just I'm kind of just saying it in my own head naturally. And
Yeah.
yeah,
So the thing is, like, when it happens naturally, that's a more authentic version of it, right? But what we're trying to do is trying to create the conditions for it to happen naturally more often, right? So yeah, it's not, this experience isn't really foreign to anyone. It's just that us who practice the Dhamma get to enjoy it more, right? Everyone has experienced moments of feeling alive, right? And when it does happen naturally, it just kind of comes over you, right? So what we're going to do is actually make sure the mind is is uh is wholesome and pure, so that this kind of feeling can come over us more, right? Because what takes us out of this feeling is a lot of the unwholesome activity of our mind that an untrained mind just lets go by, and like kind of allows um, all these kinds of thoughts that actually make shitty feelings come over us go by. So if we get rid of those thoughts, it's not that we have to artificially create the experience of being alive. We are alive, right? So if we get rid of all the shit that's distracting us from being alive, we can enjoy it more. So I'm not, so that's the main pitfall of this practice, is that people can think it's like an artificial thing, like, oh, we're like faking it, right? But no, we're just creating the condition. We're creating the conditions for it to happen. Um, like, for instance, if you're gonna have a girl over to your room, like, are you gonna want to clean your room for that girl to come over, or you gonna leave all the shit around it, right?
yeah, creating the conditions is good.
Yeah. So like, if you can like create like a nice environment, a nice room, it's not gonna make necessarily that girl come into your room, but like, we want to get the mind nice and clean, nice and uncluttered, and then uh that
Even
those
the
good
body, like the health and everything, that
the
could
health,
also
the
contribute.
body, yeah, eat healthy, get enough like movement, like walk. I mean, walking is exercise. A lot of times, if we feel dull and like lethargic, well, what did you do all day? Did you move at all? Right? So like, a lot of times, what creates energy is literally just going for a walk. Go for a walk for an hour, and that will brighten up the mind. That will start to energize things. So yeah, creating the right conditions for this experience to come over us, and then it's going to happen more. So those good feelings are going to come more, and then yeah, how much can you really lay it on? So when those good feelings do come over you, you kind of just you add more fuel to the fire, right? Instead of like having those good feelings come over and then, oh shit, I got to do something tomorrow, or uh what about this, or like that first unwholesome thought that poops the party. We want to avoid those by just really laying it on, of how good does it actually feel right now, and this is amazing. So the good feelings aren't artificial, but we can keep the good feelings going by just like by um it's like, like, it's like you hype up if you like hype up a dog, right? How do you like get a dog really excited? You're like, oh, yeah, doggy. And you're like, you come at it with all this energy, and like, you give it all this like pets and stuff, and the dog will just start jumping around and be all excited. So like, we do the same thing with the feelings, right? So we hype them up with like even more wholesome thoughts, or like even more, like even better wholesome thoughts, and then you can experience on um, even better states of consciousness. So it's like, you just kind of want to keep that ball. It snowballs. You want to keep that snowball rolling. Um, okay, so I think that was that was good for today. We barely scratched the surface of it, but we've been going for like an hour and 10 minutes now. So, unless is there any other questions?
I like that sutta a lot, Scott. Thank you. I got a different understanding of how to bring the mind into a wholesome condition today. So
Cool, perfect.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, thanks for coming, dude. And we'll continue off where we left off next week, because I didn't really get far into it. Yeah, but thanks everyone for coming. It was good to see you, Alex. Good to see you, Puyan. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you
Yeah,
guys.
meet you, Puyan.
Thanks for coming. Nick, do you have any closing words?
Had lots of fun, boys. Good time.
All right. All right. Good to see everyone.
All right, good to see you.
See you boys next time. Bye-bye.
Take it easy.